Yes, good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. It is Thursday night. I am joined by the wonderful Chris Beresford as always. How are you, Chris? You good?
Yeah, all good. Thanks, Savva. Yourself?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I'm desperately showing off my tan by wearing a bright white t-shirt. I never wear white t-shirts, but hey, here we are. Listen, good evening to each and every one of you in the chat. Today, Chris and I are going to have a look at. We're going to talk about Rodrigo Bentancur to start with. Obviously, got injured again last night, and we're going to talk about what type of player he is. Can you build a team around him? You know, has he got a place at Spurs? We're then going to look at, as the title suggests, has the Spurs rebuild begun? Now, just to give context, when my thumbnail guy made this for me, he didn't put those in, right? And I said, no, you've got to put them in because otherwise it makes it sound like I believe there's a rebuild. So we're going to talk about a rebuild, and then we're going to finish off by looking at the 11 signings that Ange's made so far, Chris. He's made 11. He's made a whole 11 of signings. So we're going to have a look at that. Just before we start, Chris, we did a show maybe 3 weeks ago together, maybe two and a half weeks ago. Said that we would like to see something happen, something quite soon. Since then, Archie Gray has come in. But other than that, it feels like it's very quiet. No links, no bids. It feels very, very quiet. What's your summary of what's going on in the world of Tottenham Hotspur's transfer market?
I texted you about it today, and my overriding message was it is very quiet, and there's either two things. One, nothing's happening at all, or B, the club have learnt from previous lessons and they're keeping things under the radar. The excuse can't be that we're continuing to wait for the end of the European Championships. There's one game left. So, I don't know, Villa continue to do business. Others are doing lots of business. But with us, do we actually know what we want to do? Are we still awaiting people to go out of the door? Time and time again, we get used to this similar MO, and it's becoming a distinct repeat of what's happened previously. Only time will tell.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I get frustrated because you look down the road, and metaphorically down the road at Man United, who are down the road into London and then out on the train. But you look at Man United putting in bids, right? You look at Arsenal deep in negotiations with Calafiori, and you just think to yourself, they're making good signings. That they're putting in bids for players, and we're kind of still not. And yes, what you'll see in the chat a lot tonight, Chris, I know you watch YouTube a lot, is, well, the window's not shut. And of course it's not. But is it worrying that we haven't come out the blocks, that we haven't made a statement? We haven't gone, right, this is the summer. This is our man. We back him completely. Let's go. Is that a worry for you?
You don't leave your business to the last minute. A professionally run and ambitious and club that are going places identify from the outset what they want to do, and they bring those players in early doors. So the fact that we're still dillying and dallying, we've got this whole new recruitment team in, but things don't seem to have changed.
Yeah, I don't know if do you think, just before we talk about Rodrigo Bentancur, that's the concern for me, right? Is what I read a lot from a lot of Spurs fans is that things are changing. The process is changing. Our strategy is changing. Now, tell me, Chris, if I'm being a complete moron here, but I look at it and I don't see that anything's changing. I see that this is what we do. This is what we do. We've got a couple of kids and Timo Werner on loan. I called it at the beginning of the summer. I think we're going to make 7 signings. I think one will be very good, like an Eze-esque player. I think we'll do 2 that are decent players. And then I think we'll get 3 or 4 that are either on loan or kids. I'm sticking with that. What do you think?
I wouldn't disagree at all. The Werner signing, cheap and cheerful, low risk, no financial outlay. If it goes wrong, we can give him back with nothing lost. A massive outlay for Archie Gray. I hope he comes good. I hope he's the potential that we all believe and hear he is capable of being. But in the same breath, you hear of Danny Olmo, the standout player of the European Champions tournament, having a buyout clause of 50 million. Well, if you believe what you hear, paid 40 million for Archie Gray. So are we continuing to invest in potential for the future, or are we going to change our tactic?
Yeah.
And somebody who's instantly available to come into the first team and add some magic. And whilst I don't like talking about those down the road, but Arsenal, problem with defensive midfield, that Thomas Partey as their standout midfielder alongside Yannick Graka, Xhaka.
Granit Xhaka,
Yeah, you know I'm talking about.
We all know who you meant, yeah.
They go away and spend £100 million on Declan Rice.
Right.
So they're not investing in future potential, they're investing in a player for the now. And that's where we need to change our philosophy. We need those players that can instantly come into the first team level, at the first team 11, and push us up a notch, so can have an immediate impact on the side.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you touched upon Dani Olmo there. I mean, look, I think we've talked about Dani Olmo for years in our group. I think he's a sensational footballer. Unfortunately, I've taken it out of my mind now, even getting remotely close to signing a player like Dani Olmo. Before the show started, I actually said to you, you can back me up on this, I actually said to you backstage, signing Dani Olmo for me would be a Van der Vaart moment.
Yeah,
it's a player that comes in and we all go, cool, this is class, this is quality, but we haven't got the appetite for it.
It's a low risk signing when you think we wasted £60 million on Richarlison, probably the worst centre forward ever to play for Tottenham. 50 million for a bloke lighting up the European Championships, who's proven himself in the Spanish league, the German league, and is 23, 24 years of age. It's a no-brainer, absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, madness. I just can't see us getting him. I mean, even tonight, I'm seeing clubs linked with him that are going to be much better than us. But you've got to try, right? You've got to go in first. But what will happen is we won't get a player like that, and then we'll hear that, well, he's not an Ange player. He doesn't suit the system. Listen, when quality players come along, they suit the system, don't they?
Yeah.
You know. Look, let's start tonight and big up everyone in the chat. Come on, smash that like button. I won't ask loads of times, but we've only got 37 likes. Smash the like. I'll try and get as many comments up on the screen as possible. If you do want to be a channel member, please do. And other than that, just sit back, relax, enjoy. And if you feel like you want to abuse us, chuck the abuse in and we'll deal with it. Chris, let's start by talking about Rodrigo Bentancur. Now, Rodrigo Bentancur, he's been with the club now for what? We've had him for
2 or 3 seasons.
2.5 years now, I would say. Something like that, 2.5 years. A lot of people in our fan base really rave about this guy. Other people are not so enamoured. Before we talk about what's happening with him right now, what do you think about Rodrigo Bentancur? Where does he rank for you?
So Juventus don't give away good players. And the fact that he came at a relatively modest price says it all to me. He's a average player, in my opinion. He doesn't light up the starting 11. He's been unfortunate with injury. He's made some poor choices both on and off the pitch of late. Would he walk in? I always judge a player by would he walk into Man City, Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal? And to all of those clubs, I say no, he wouldn't. So I think our fans hero worship and they get excited very easily over very mediocre talents. And he doesn't differ from that opinion. He is a very average player that has had good games, has scored goals, but we shouldn't be building a long-term future around him.
Yeah, look, I kind of agree with you. I mean, I think he's technically a very good footballer. I won't take that away from him. I think he's he's a typical foreign midfielder, comfortable on the ball, likes to receive it in tight spaces, good footwork. But I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I look at, again, people get really bored of me saying this, what do we want to be? And if we want to close that gap, I don't think a player like Rodrigo Bentancur, if we're talking about him as our best midfielder, that's a worry for me. Because I do think in moments he's our best midfielder. But I think him, Basuma, Sarr, for me, they're all very, very hit and miss from week to week.
Those that he's comparing alongside are not of a high level, are they? You're talking about Basuma, fantastic for Brighton. We all thought we'd signed an excellent player, hasn't lived up to expectation. Oliver Skipp, in truth, only probably here because he's homegrown and an English player. the majority of his games. The most successful period came on loan at Norwich in the Championship.
Yeah.
And then Papa Matasar, good young player with an engine on him, but he's not really proven himself. So all of those in the central positions, you've got a limited choice, and you haven't got anybody who offers something different. You haven't got anybody who brings a touch of magic to the side. You haven't got anybody actually proven that those competing alongside us would say, hang on, we'll have him.
Yeah. I mean, I think the key thing for me is you're right. What we tend to do is when a player has a good patch for us, i.e. 7-8 games, 5-6 games, we really do go overboard, don't we? We start putting them into the stratosphere of, oh my God, he's the best midfielder in the league. Oh my God, he's world class. And YouTube channels don't help with that. I'm going to say that. I remember before the World Cup, where it was in December, November, December, that World Cup. I remember we were on a really poor run going into that World Cup, Spurs, but we ended with a win against Leeds. If you remember, I think it was like 4-3.
That was the Conte era, wasn't it? Where I think Bentancur scored 1 or 2 in that game.
Yeah. And then the next day, I wake up to videos of, is Bentancur world class? And I'm thinking, what? Hang on. You can do it against Leeds. I see him do it against the likes of Everton. No offence, Bournemouths. The big question is, when you play the better teams, do you run a midfield? Now, that's not just him. I'm not having a go at him, by the way. I think he's a good player. But again, I don't think he gets into a single one of the teams above us. I just really don't think he's that good.
No, not in a million years.
Yeah. I mean, what would you do? Because look, he is injured again. You might know, I don't know the extent of it. I just woke up to, I actually had a bet on, I had a bet on Uruguay to win and Nunes to score at any time in the game. And so I woke up to Bentancur injured. It's now happening a lot. He had the year out.
Yeah.
Another injury. Now another injury. I'm going to ask the question. It probably upset a lot of fans, but you know me, Chris. Would you cash in on him if the opportunity came about?
100%. 100%. I think we can move on, upgrade, whilst he's still got a residual value. He's been injury prone. He's had poor areas of judgment off the pitch. He's not a player to build your team around for the future moving forward. Specifically when we've had Archie Gray and Bergvall come in the summer. We've got Papa Matasar, still a young lad. He's not for me the future of this club.
Yeah. Listen, I completely agree with you. I think as well, when you see a player that's, had that year in, year out, now seeming to start picking up knocks more and more regularly, I thought he had a really poor back end of the season. Now, we can talk about his injury, but at some point you've got to come out of that injury, right? And you've got to play. And for me, he's just not good enough. But look, let us know in the chat. Do me a favor, just say keep or sell. Now, I'm not actively selling him. I'm just saying if a bid came in, and I know what I'm thinking a lot of people will say, Chris, is they'll keep him because they don't trust the club to actually go and buy a better player. And that's a valid point, right? Is that I don't trust them to go and buy a better player than Rodrigo Bentancur either. But
who is potentially worse at the club than Rodrigo Bentancur when we've already spoken about those alongside him that are no better?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just, I think this is the key thing. And this is why a lot of people were loath to let Harry Kane go, because
we've been too safe for too many years. And that's why Harry Winks stayed at Tottenham for so long, because we knew what we'd get from him, a backward and sideward passer. And it was that lack of ambition or that lack of change that meant he stayed for far too long. We've become very accustomed over the years of taking risk. And you look at some of the dross that we've had. Tom Carroll, how did that man stay at Tottenham for so long?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, again, it's not that I don't like Bentancur, by the way. I've just seen a pattern now of a player like that. And for me, when you look at the better teams, they have huge consistency in central midfield. If you look at Arsenal, every game, Declan Rice for Arsenal, not talking about the Euros, every game for Arsenal, Declan Rice in that number, in the number 8 kind of position, he stands out for me. Declan Rice stands out. Odegaard, brilliant footballer, stands out. Man City's centre mids. I mean, Rodri. You know what I think of Rodri. I think he's the best footballer in the world and should be Ballon d'Or winner. But that's me.
I heard you actually go leave your wife for him.
Yeah, she can't play the quarterback role as well as Rodri. But, yeah, you know it is. And that's the thing for me. It's consistency. You look at the Chelsea teams that were winning things. The consistency of Makelele and Lampard and Ballack, and you know whether or not Desailly was playing in there or whether it was whoever Deco in there. The consistency is what I feel like we lack all over the park, and that's the difference for me, Chris, between a top player and a good player, and that's the difference between winning things and not. Is that
100%.
fair?
Yeah, 100%.
Look, guys and girls, smash that like button. This is really, really poor. Only 64 likes. Smash that like button. Right. Let us know. We're going to start talking about Ange's signings now. We're going to go look back at all 11 signings. We're not going to go deep into Bergvall and Archie Gray until the end because we've not seen them in a Spurs shirt, even though everyone's already salivating that they're going to win the Ballon d'Or next year together. But I want to look back at the signings, Chris. And the reason I want to do that is... we talk a lot, the royal we talk a lot about the rebuild. And for me, if you're going to rebuild, you know, first and foremost, I don't ever understand what we're actually rebuilding from. It feels like it's been a constant word for the last 24 years that never actually gets built. You know, when you go on holiday somewhere like Greece and you see those apartments where they've got the metal rods sticking out of the top, and you know they do that so that they don't have to complete the building and pay tax on it.
Right? Tax, yeah.
Right? That's what I feel like Tottenham are. It's like never completed. So let me ask you, the 11 players we've signed to date, we're going to go through them. So I'm going to try and do this off the top of my head. I should have written it down. The 11 players I'll try and do it in order, were Vicario, Maddison, Van der Ven, Solomon, Valise, that's 5, Brennan Johnson, Ashley Phillips, Timo Werner, Dragusin, Archie Gray, and Bergvall. That's the 11.
Yeah.
Now, before we go into them individually, when I name those 11, does it automatically scream to you, Chris, wow, Spurs mean it this time. That's a rebuild, and we're actually going to try and close the gap?
Not one bit. And I'll give you an example of where a strategic rebuild has taken place. Can you remember when Liverpool lost to Real Madrid in the Champions League final? They had Loris Karius in goal. Had an absolute shocker. What they immediately did is went away and spent big money on Alisson Becker. Yeah. And then they identified that their centre-half position wasn't very good. So what did they do? Spent big money on a chap called Virgil van Dijk. So it wasn't a rebuild. It was the investment into quality players that suddenly lifted the team alongside them. So we've never had that ambition to add some magic to the team. Yet some of the players that you've just reeled off, the questionable at best. Right.
And this is the thing for me. I think that's a great example you've thrown in there with Liverpool, because whilst Liverpool, and I had someone in my chat earlier today, honestly, it was hard work, telling me, when Liverpool won the league under Klopp, the fans didn't like FSG. They didn't back him. And I was like, hang on, Alisson, Van Dijk, Salah, Mane, Firmino. I was like, I'm sorry, am I missing something? How long is a rebuild, Chris? How long is a rebuild? Like we've got a couple of people, the usual people, like the second wheel, who's always in my chat. Big up to you and Jason S. And they're constantly talking about our kids, and they're talking about how they're going to be worldies. How long can you keep doing this though before you actually go, right, we've got enough kids, now let's chuck 3 or 4 bits of quality on top and actually try and be a serious top club?
Generally speaking, in the business world, you look at a rebuild of now 3 years, 5 years. So whilst we've invested in your Archie Grays and your Bergvalls, who may be for the next 5 years, who is going to come in now to strengthen us and to lift us to a position above last year? So Werner, no, he's just a cheap option with a number of increased games because of European participation this season. So of all those people, you've Manor Solomon, questionable in respect of how we signed him, really pissed off a Ukrainian club that were under the sanctions, because, unfortunately, because they were invaded by Russia. We've not come out of that deal smelling of roses. So a lot of those players you name, how many of them have we actually got that tingly sensation and thought, wow, remember waking up all those years ago to the fact that we've signed Jurgen Klinsmann, and you were like, Jesus Christ, we've signed one of the best in the business. Or Van der Vaart arriving at the club at the 23rd hour of the 24th hour of a transfer window. None of these players...
Average Ginola signing.
Yeah, none of these players get you buzzing and get a 46-year-old man such as myself excited about the prospect of somebody donning a Tottenham shirt. Some of them are underwhelming, and you think they may come good, they might not come good. If not, we'll have a protracted story of them leaving the club in the future. We haven't signed anybody that's, wow. The whole centre-forward position, we've all known for seasons, we've never replaced Harry Kane. Richarlison couldn't hit a barn door, biggest waste of money we've ever spent. And there's options out there, but we still continue to drag our feet, and there's every excuse under the sun. So no, we haven't increased the squad strength or the first team 11 strength with those signings that you've laid out to me.
Yeah, look, I just want to look at one comment and then I'll come back to our conversation. My mate Jason S said, Savva, you really, you don't understand rebuilding. I love these sort of comments because you know I'm going to rip it to pieces. It's building back the team that challenged for the league title and was in a Champions League final. It's
whoa. So that team was under Pochettino. Since Pochettino, we've had Conte, Mourinho, the chap from Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Nuno,
Nuno Espirito. Yeah, we've had Ryan Mason about 7 times thrown in there.
Yeah.
And then we've arrived at our 8th choice, who was Ange. So I don't think that rebuild story holds any strength, personally.
Right, and can I just say as well, what rebuilding from a team that didn't win anything?
With no investment.
Right. So Jason, I'm just going to throw a crazy idea at you now. Chris, tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me to shut up if I'm wrong. Surely the building, not the rebuilding, should have been done at the time when we were challenging for a title. That's when you build. You don't wait till 5 years later and then go, you know what? We need to rebuild a team.
When you're in a position of strength, you increase your strength. When you have lost that strength, anything that you then attempt to do is to try and regain the position you once held.
Yeah.
So it's not a rebuild at all. It's after the horse has bolted, you're trying to recover what's now gone.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you, before we look at the players individually, do you think that a lot of the split, I suppose, if I'm looking when I look in the chats, people are all one way or the other, right? You've got loads of people who obviously watch me all the time that are very similar to me, and they're like, Levy this, Levy that, Spurs need to win things. Blah, blah. Then I see a lot of younger people that always seem to, oh my God, this kid's generational, this kid's great. I'm going to ask a question without trying to belittle anyone. Is it an age thing, Chris? Is it the fact that you and I are our age? I'll let you be as young as me just for this moment. Is it the fact that me and you are our age? We've seen the club sign Teddy Sheringham's, Klinsmann's, Ginola's, Edgar Davids. You know, we've seen the club sign some top players. We've seen the club win a European trophy, FA Cups. Is it that these younger fans just haven't experienced it, and that's why they always hope more than we do that these young kids will all be ballers and generational?
I think times have changed. When we were younger, there wasn't YouTube. There wasn't a lot of social media, and we weren't influenced by what the stats read on FIFA, an EA sports game. So we had the optic of being able to judge a player on what our eyes saw in front of us. Yeah. So I think the ability to actually identify something for real has gone. And I think a lot of people will be carried by opinion and perspective without even having seen that player play for themselves.
Yeah, I just find it a bit crazy how, like for me, if we take Archie Gray, if we take Bergvall, I can add in Brian Hill, Jed Spence, Sessegnon, Jack Clark, Joe Roden, Ange'S, and Kudu, however many young players like Gedson, right? That's just going back 3 or 4 years. Every time we sign a young player, Chris, it feels like the younger section of the fan base seem to think they're generational. This is a true concern for me that, one, the pressure they put on these kids is just astronomical. You know, Bergval's going to come in. You watch him. He's going to do bits. He's going to be the best young player in Europe. You're like, whoa, hang on. This is a kid who's only played in the Swedish league. We've got to stop doing that, haven't we? We've got to stop pretending that every kid we buy is going to be Gareth Bale. We've got to stop doing that, right? Because that happens once in a blue moon.
We've got to be realistic. We've got to give the young kids the opportunity to grow. We've got to support them. We've got to nurture them. But we've got to understand that not everybody's going to make it to the expectation that we hope for. There's a difference between being an elite footballer and being a good footballer. And you can count on one hand how many world-class footballers there currently are in the game.
Yeah. And look, Jason just come back and let me know. I was talking about rebuilding under Ange. Jason, I think the problem is when you get to my age, when you get to Chris's age, I don't know how old you are, Jason. I'm going to hazard a guess. Let me know if I'm wrong. I reckon you're somewhere between 18 and 24. I'm just hazarding a guess. When people like me and Chris, I can't speak for you, Chris, actually. You can either say yes or no, you agree. When we hear rebuilding under Ange, we heard this rebuilding under Conte, under Jose, under Nuno, under Yol, under Redknapp, under, Santini, under...
Savva.
It gets tiresome, right?
Savva, I've held a season ticket at Tottenham since 1990, and in my whole entire life of supporting Spurs, I've seen us win the FA Cup against Nottingham Forest, the League Cup against Leicester, and the League Cup against Chelsea. So the rebuilds have been continuous and too often, and we've never completed them, and we've never gone on to achieve what we hoped for. Yeah.
Eugene, big up, mate. Thanks for coming on the other day. I mean, look, when we say we've rebuilt, we've got to stop using the word rebuilt. Like, I don't know what it was rebuilt from. We're building, right? We're building. We've built our defence in 2 years. No excuse not to do the same for the attack. Otherwise, the talent will be wasted. We're going to talk about the defence a bit later. But look, I want to have a look at some of the signings that we've made, Chris, and get your understanding of why you think they were signed and whether or not you think they were good signings. Essentially, let's start with Vicario. Let's start at the back. Vicario came in after what felt like 100 years of Hugo Lloris. What do you make of Vicario as a signing for Tottenham?
Initially, he concerned me with his sort of dilly-dally play out the back.
Yeah.
He's without doubt an athletic goalkeeper, good shot stopper. But then an example being the cup game against Man City was it the Dutchman who played last night at left back? Ake muscled him off the ball to head home from the corner. And clubs seemed to find him out and seemed to intimidate him and dominate him. Will that be coached out of him? I hope so. But is there actually an heir apparent at the club and anybody to push him and to compete against him when you've got Fraser Forster and beyond Fraser Forster, Alfie Whiteman and the other young lad? So I'm not going to criticise him, but equally I'm not going to say he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, because I think he's somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, the standards have changed, second Will. I'm not really sure what that means. What standard have we gone from and to? Let me know. We're still signing players like Timo Werner. So for me, I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to say the standards have changed. Big up Nige from our group. As said, Nige, 100% an age. I thought you said Ange. 100% an age thing. Spurs drag you down year on, year out. 43 years of supporting Spurs takes its toll. My wife always says that I probably wouldn't have this line across my forehead if I didn't support Tottenham. But hey, listen, that it is what it is. Listen, I agree with you. I think Vicario is a good goalkeeper. Do I think he's anywhere near the best in the league? I don't at all. He can still get better. He can still grow. But I think it was a good signing, right? No more, no less. It was a good signing. Happy with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Let us know in the chat. Jimmy Costco, my old friend Jimmy Costco's in the chat. Says, not really Savva. It's not just the younger generation. The stadium was full of 50-year-olds just turning up for a beer and good vibes, never demanding improvement. Chris, as a 40-something-year-old with a season ticket who I've seen drink beer in the flesh, what do you think to this?
I wouldn't disagree. I think there's certainly room for improvement, and I'm not sure it was the best signing in the world without being too controversial.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fair enough. Let's have a look. Okay, so Vicario done. Let us know in the chat what do you think of Vicario? How would you rate that as a signing? The next one I'm going to go on to, probably not one so obvious. Let's have a look at Ashley Phillips. So Spurs even managed to drag out a deal for Ashley Phillips. It was about £3 million. He had only ever played, if I'm not wrong, Chris, I believe, was it 14 appearances for Blackburn? Something like that, 7 starts and 14, something like that. Ange didn't give him a single minute, even when we had all of our centre-backs out injured. He's then sent out on loan and then was dropped from Plymouth towards the end of the season. What do you make Ashley Phillips? Is he another generational centre-half, or what did you make of that signing?
Well, we went to Blackburn and we came home with the wrong player, didn't we?
You thinking of Wharton?
Yeah, 100%. So again, prior to us signing him, how many people can put their hands up in the air and say they actually heard of him? Because I hadn't. And being a man who watches a lot of Championship football, it wasn't somebody on my radar. Plymouth struggled. Looking at the responses and reviews on social media and things, he didn't amaze you and didn't stand out, and you didn't hear all these rave reviews. But again, somebody at the club has obviously scouted him and thought there is somebody who offers potential for the future. But he's not even featured on our substitutes bench or featured in the first team 11. So again, it's one I would suspect will probably end up on loan next season. But this time, it's not one we can really say has added any strength or contributed to the first team squad over the last 12 months.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was one of these players. I wish I was one of those players. I was one of the fans last season that when we got the injury to Van der Ven and Romero at the same time, I was calling for, look, Dyer's going. We knew Dyer was going. I was someone saying, chuck in Ashley Phillips, right? Because if you're good enough, you're old enough. And I'd rather see an 18-year-old make mistakes at the back than Eric Dyer, who we've seen make mistakes at the back for a decade. But he didn't give him. He didn't give him a minute, Chris. He refused to give him.
We were Emerson Royal and Ben Davis.
Right, that's worrying. That's true. That's truly worrying. And if I'm not wrong, isn't Ashley Phillips the only centre half at
for
Spurs
the pre-season
right
tournament, for the pre-season training?
Yeah. So it's going to be Ashley Phillips. Well, I would like to think it's going to be Ashley Phillips alongside someone else, rather than just going to Royal and Davis again. That would really annoy me.
Then taking it forward, and without stealing your thunder, we moved to Dragusin, who
let's move to Dragusin.
Ange has been so reluctant to play him. He even had the indecency of playing Oliver Skipp at left back when Dragusin could probably have played in that role. Yet in the European Championships, he's been probably Romania's best player. So again, it asks you, if you've been performing in the Serie A and you've been playing regular for Genoa, when there's that injury crisis, why don't you come into the team?
Nail on the head. I've got question marks over Dragusin, and not his ability from the limited game time I've seen of him in the Euros and 4 appearances in a Spurs shirt, whatever. My question marks are these, Chris, and let us know in the chat what you think. My question mark is one, what you just said, which is, even when we had those injuries, he would still have rather put in Royal. I'm just saying, like his chicken Royal, like Emerson Royal or Skip, rather than put Dragusin in and then move Van der Ven to left back. That was concerning for me. And the second thing that's concerning for me is when you watch Dragusin, he's not the quickest.
Can't play a high line.
Right. So my worry is, has he been bought to play in a back two centre halves? Because I don't think he's the quickest. And we saw in the Euros, one of the games, he got turned time and time again. So my worry is,
Belgium? Did Lukaku turn him inside out?
Yeah, and De Bruyne, who's not the quickest of players, right? So that's my concern. But you know my feelings, Chris. I would play all three and have wing backs. I just feel like it's a no-brainer to play wing backs. But that's me. That's just me.
But it's that ability to make in-game change, isn't it? And we've seen a manager who is far from having that ability to change those tactics.
Yeah, again, Eugene, I just don't think we're using the word rebuild correctly. I don't feel like we're using it correctly, but hey, each to their own. Look, let's go to the next player. Let us know in the chat. So we've had Vicario, Ashley Phillips, Dragoshin. I like Dragoshin, by the way. I think he's a good player. I just question whether he was the manager's signing purely because we must be one of the only clubs that goes out, spends all window battling against Bayern Munich to get a player and then doesn't play him. Like that baffled me completely, if I'm honest.
If you talk about Vicario, if you talk about Udogie, if you talk about Bentancur, if you talk about Kulusevski, how many of those were manager signings as opposed to Paratici signings?
Yeah.
And even Valise. Who was the person who pulled the trigger on that deal? Because he scored one goal for Tottenham, hardly got a kick, went on loan to a club in Spain. Where did he go? Seville, was it?
Yeah, he went to Sevilla, and apparently didn't get on with the manager.
He got a splinter in his arse through sitting on the bench so much, didn't get a kick. Again, you've got all these players telling me, all these fans telling me he's going to be the next greatest thing. Based on what? Based on absolutely what?
Well, but this is my worry. I remember fans last year when we signed Valise, and I turned around and I said, couldn't we have done better across the whole of the world football than Valise? And people were going, oh my God, watch him in Argentina. Like, apparently everyone watches Argentinian football. Watch him in Argentina, Savva. This guy's great. He's brilliant. And again, that's what we're already doing with Bergvall. We're already doing it with Archie Gray. We'll do it with, if we sign that Desiree Douy, we'll do it with him as well. Billy says Vicario was the best keeper in the league last season. I think that's a massive stretch. I think this is a huge, huge, huge stretch. The guy was dreadful at defending corners. So, no, I'm not going to. Sorry, not for me. Not for me. Let's talk about Mickey van der Ven. Because I feel like Mickey van der Ven's going to be the real positive one, right? And was the best signing for me so far.
I'd ask the question, will Mickey van der Ven be at Tottenham 2 to 3 years from now?
No.
And when we've always experienced Modric's, Bale's, and Real Madrid have always flexed their muscle and taken them from us, and there's been nothing we can do to stop that. Mickey van der Ven is an absolute monster. How he didn't start for Holland in place of De Vries, I do not know. He's got the pace. Even when we put him out to left back, he was exceptional in that role. And he pinged in a few goals during the season as well. So I think he was a quality signing. Scouting for once worked, and is probably, of all those that we're going to discuss, the best signing we made this last season.
Yeah, I think the nail on the head. Always my concern is when we do get a gem like Mickey van der Ven, you do worry, don't you? And you think, well, hang on, we can all see how good he is. How long until managers around the world who are seeing that the standard of defenders is not what it was, Chris, right? We're going to talk about strikers a bit later, but the standard of defenders isn't what it was. At some point, I think someone much bigger comes in for Van der Ven. And if we keep doing this, building youth for the future, players like Mickey van der Ven, players like Romero will look around and go, why am I staying here? I'm going to go and play for Inter Milan. I'm going to go and play for Real Madrid. I'm going to play for Barcelona, whoever it may be, Man City. That's a real concern, right?
We're a stepping stone for players to realise their ambition at other clubs. We haven't got winning in our DNA. We haven't won anything hardly over the last 20 years. So why does it surprise us when people move on to pastures new?
Yeah. No, absolutely. But I mean, listen, I think Mickey van der Ven was a very good signing. My concern with Mickey van der Ven is, again, nothing to do with ability. The guy is brilliant. My concern is that if we keep playing this high line, as high as we play it, and rely solely on his pace, those hamstrings are going to take a hammering 3 or 4 times a season. And
yeah.
I feel like we've already, I'm not making that up. We've already seen it, right? We've already seen it. I think that's the worry. And another worry, this is probably demonstrating how good he is. I feel that when Mickey van der Ven doesn't play at centre half, I think we look all over the place. I think he made Romero look so much better last season. But Mickey van der Ven mops up a lot of stuff. The moment he's injured or comes out, have you got a like for like?
He's got the fortune of having exceptional pace to recover from situations.
Yeah.
And we've never seen that pace before. Jan Vertonghen was a Rolls Royce of a centre half, one of the best players I've seen in a Tottenham shirt at centre back alongside Ledley King. But nobody was blessed with that pace, and he can recover areas that others can't because of that speed.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. I just think if you have a system that relies on that one centre half that can get back, the moment he comes out, you're putting Dragusin in, let's just say it is him or whoever, that doesn't have that pace. Straight away, you've got to drop 5-10 yards, right? Because you haven't got the guy that can mop up. So it's a risky strategy for me, but hey, we'll see. Who else did we sign last year? Let's look at James Maddison. James Maddison, the story of 2 halves for this guy, right?
So James Maddison, in my opinion, was when you go to Aldi with the intention of buying an inflatable boat or a beach polo set, and you come back with 2 litres of milk. We got somebody we were all hoping would be brilliant, and up until the point of injury, he was half reasonable. But we're A, playing him in the wrong position, and
Agreed.
B, he's not quite as good as we hoped he would be. And C, I spoke to a lot of Leicester fans. Can you remember Wayne, who was in our chat group?
Yeah. Wayne Holland, yeah.
He was always very adamant that once Maddison got an injury, he wasn't the same thereafter. And he's right. And there's a reason why he wasn't in Gareth Southgate's England squad. There's others that are a lot better in that position around him.
Yeah, I look, I'll tell you what, I like James Maddison. Do I think he's elite? No, I don't think he's elite. Do I think he's on the level of an Odegaard? No, I don't. But I also feel for him because I did a video about this a while back where when I watched him for Leicester City, he had Tielemans and Ndidi who sat behind him who just did their jobs and played as central midfielders. He had 2 wide men that played as wide men and the 2 fullbacks played as fullbacks. My point in all of that is it gave him that 20 yards in the opposition half to dictate play. It gave him lots of room to get the ball, turn, look up. When I see him playing now for us, Chris, I see Udogie and Porro are gone in there and joining him. The 2 midfielders have gone right up and joined him. The wingers have inverted in. And it's just, I feel like he just looks lost in there. And I feel like he almost wants to say, go away. Give me this 20 yards. Give me this space and let me dictate play. But that's just me. But I don't know. Only Spurs could buy Maddison. And we have his worst goal-scoring season for 5 years. You know what I mean? So,
without wishing to sound like I'm repeating myself, would Maddison get into Man City?
No,
Would he get into Chelsea?
I mean, no, not above Cole Palmer. No.
Would he get into Arsenal?
No.
Would he get into Liverpool?
No.
And would he get into whoever not mentioned, Man United?
I mean, I suppose it would be him versus Bruno Fernandes, and probably not. I mean, Bruno would be a pain in the arse, but
let's throw Aston Villa into that equation as well.
No, I think their midfield's solid.
Through process of elimination, you've now eliminated Maddison from our top 5 or 6 rivals. So again, it's been so long since we saw genuine quality of the like of Bale, Modric, Van der Vaart, that we've lacked any creativity or explosiveness in the midfield for so long that all of a sudden Maddison comes along and we herald him as this game changer, where realistically speaking, he is a good player. Not going to knock him, like him, enjoy watching him play, but he's not exceptional.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? Is when we're looking at it, he was one of our better free buys out of the 11.
Yeah,
and everything you've just said there, does he get into these things? But that's our level, right? We're going, oh my God, look at this great signing. My query is, if we don't start buying the next level up from the players that we've got, from the Bentancurs, from the Maddisons, right? I don't know how, because there seems to be this belief, Chris, that Ange Postecoglou's got this magic wand that can suddenly make all these players turn into title winners. I just don't see it. I'm sorry, I don't. I've not seen it.
I'll tell you, somebody once told me you can't polish a turd.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's the case for some of our players.
Mate, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, look, I like Maddison. Look, what you would like to think is that the heartache, I suppose, of not being taken to the Euros will spur him to come back this season and have a really good year. My concern isn't Maddison's ability. My concern is how this manager wants everybody to be sort of... Listen, when I was doing my coaching badges, when I was a lot younger, right, the guy who was doing my coaching sessions would always stop the sessions, not my session, like everyone, stop the session and go, right, stop. What's wrong with this? And he'd go, right, if I chuck a towel, 3 of you can touch it at once. Go away. Go away from it. I don't want you here. And that's my concern with Ange's football, is that everybody just goes into the middle. You don't need 2 inverted fullbacks, 2 inverted wingers. You don't need the midfielders pushing up to be with Maddison. That's why I don't think the number 10 position here will work under this manager. Just looking at the comments, Robert, thank you for your comments. But both Savva and I will say it as we see it, and we're not worried about our heads being taken off by anybody. And that's my honest opinion on Maddison. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that comment yet. What time is it? I haven't seen it, but hey, look, it is what it is. Look, let's have a look. After that, we signed Solomon and Valise. I'll put these two together because we've not really seen either of them, right?
We can wrap those up quite quickly, can't we?
Yeah.
Solomon was moderately successful on loan at Fulham, scored a few goals whilst on loan, came to us, and let's be truthful, we exploited the situation that the Ukrainian club found themselves in, thinking that we could get this talent for nothing. Came into us, initially added some pace, added some dynamic play to his ability, but then he suffered what Sessegnon suffered, injuries beyond injuries. He's another Darren Anderson. His body's made out of glass. So how can we comment on him when we haven't seen him play? But from what we hear from those close to the club, that we're happy to accept offers for him. So it says to us that he's not in the long-term thinking of the club. And again, I will keep on going back to the test of would he fit in a competitor's squad? He wouldn't. So why are we happy to entertain mediocrity by accepting him in our squad? Because he fills a squad vacancy.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. I mean, look, when I look at Solomon, I've got a couple of mates who are season ticket holders at Fulham, and they said, look, the 5 goals in 5 games. I don't know if you remember that period he had. They said really kind of blinkered everyone as to how good the guy is or isn't, depending on which way you look at it. And they said most of the time he spent on the bench. And when we signed him, I just thought, oh, that's another really simple free transfer because of the whole Ukrainian war situation. And I don't know. Do you think he'll be here to start the season?
I think he will, because I don't think there's going to be many suitors willing to take him off our hands. So unless it's a move overseas, I don't anticipate anybody in this country being in a rush to take him from us.
Yeah, it's strange. And then look, Valise, for me, do you know the worrying thing for me, Chris? Is when I see a youngster play football, I don't expect miracles from them. Not like half of these kids now going, oh, they're generational. But what I do expect is when you see them come on, I expect to go, oh, there's something about you. Do you know what I mean? I'm not talking about world-class performances, but a nice little touch, a move, something you've done. When Valise kept coming on for us, I remember thinking...
Looked like a cart horse, no first touch, slow, and looked like a rabbit in headlights. Yet you compare that to a young lad called Kobe Mainu, who got given the opportunity at Man United and has never looked back.
Right.
And we're now looking at him in that tournament, reading his statistics and thinking, this is somebody who's taken his chance. Yet when some of our youngsters have been given that same chance, we've been sat there thinking you look distinctly ordinary.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I completely agree with you. And look, again, it's not knocking young players, but at what stage do you say, oh, they'll come good, they'll come good? We've got no way of knowing which kids will come good. We've got no way. I hate, you know me, Chris, I hate the term ceiling.
Yeah.
Oh, their ceiling is, you've got no way of knowing what someone's ceiling is. None of us have, right? We've got no way of knowing. But look, yeah, again, two signings there that for me were, look, Ashley Phillips, Valise, Solomon, it was all a bit there. Then we come to, I won't put Kulu in this, but I do think Ange signed it off. But we won't talk about Kulu. Another player criminally played out of position. But let's talk the big money signing from last summer. It was on the last day of the window.
Brennan Johnson.
Johnson. Now, bearing in mind, Spurs knew. Now, before everyone goes, oh, but Kane left. Spurs knew Harry Kane was going.
Yeah.
Spurs knew Harry Kane was going. Harry Kane's admitted that he told Postecoglou the day he turned up. Postecoglou's admitted that Harry Kane told him that he wanted to leave. And Levy said, we knew, right? You've had all summer, Chris, not you. You've had all summer. And we spend 15 million of it on Brennan Johnson on the last day of the window. Now tell me that we're serious.
Brennan Johnson looks like a rabbit in the headlights. He looks afraid every time he gets the ball. He never beats the opposition on the outside. Lacks a decent cross. And he looks like he's a boy in a man's game. Yeah. Again, that's not a personal thing. I hope he has a successful career at Tottenham, goes on to win loads and goes on to do well for his nation. But so far, I'm not seeing anything to evidence those wishes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I listen, I don't understand. Again, lots of people go, he's young. He's only like 24. Like, I mean, it's like, I see a winger that has nothing to beat his man other than pace. Like, he's got nothing in his locker. He's got no skill. His touch isn't good. He gets a couple of tap-ins and we go, oh, his GA's good.
He is no different from Mbappe. Take away his pace and there's very little else there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just quickly, I want to look at this. I think Theo Shilton put in two questions that I thought were quite interesting. The first one he said was, question for you both. Who were the last 5 truly world-class players that we signed? And before we answer that, he went on to say, because if you can't name them or it goes back more than 5 years, and it does, how can we say we are top 4 challengers? Can you name 5 world-class players we've signed? And I'm going to change it, Chris. They must have been world-class when we signed them.
Okay, so world-class when we signed them. Jurgen Klinsmann.
Boom.
Rafael van der Vaart.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
We can't include Bale in that because he wasn't world-class. We developed him.
Yep.
Were they world-class in respect of Vertonghen and Alderweireld? I'd argue not. I'd say they were good players, but not world-class. Who else? I know I'm going to upset you now, as he's your love child, but he was good. But was he world class?
Oh, he was sensational. He was.
Okay, well, I'll meet you on neutral ground, and we'll put Ginola into it.
Yeah,
but we can't name 5. We can name 3.
I know.
Yeah.
That is terrible, isn't it? We cannot name 5. The last world-class player that Spurs signed was Van der Vaart.
Yeah.
Right, and that was, if I'm not wrong, I want to say 2010.
It was through an act of fortune. It wasn't planned. It was an agent ringing you up at the 11th hour and leave you thinking, I can do a deal here. And ever since then, we've had this Levy time.
Yeah.
We've never, ever made a signing to match that. So even when you talk about Modric, we bought Modric from a Croatian side, and he was raw potential. Took him some time to find his feet. But they're the only 3 that we could class as world class. We have never had in recent years world-class players.
Mm. Well, fair enough, Jimmy. If you're saying that Van der Vaart wasn't, all right, cool. So literally, if you're saying he wasn't, we've got one, maybe the only one that everyone can agree on then is Klinsmann. That's embarrassing, right? That's embarrassing. But you know what, Chris? I don't ask for Spurs to sign world-class players, but I do ask for Spurs to sign the level below. I do think that players like Eze, who I don't think is world class at all, right? Very good footballer. That should be the signing that Spurs go bang, done. That shouldn't be an issue for Tottenham Hotspur to go to Crystal Palace, no disrespect, and take their best player. That shouldn't be a problem, right? If it is, then we're not a big club. I don't care what anyone says. We are not a big club if we can't go out and get an Eberici Eze.
100% agree.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I would say that Edgar Davids, when we got him, was a fleeting cameo. It wasn't Edgar Davids in his prime.
He was coming towards the end of his career. Again, we offered him an opportunity prior to retirement, similar to Nicola Berti, who was an Italian international that played for Inter Milan. Or we could go as far back as Naybet, the Moroccan centre-back that had a really good career in Spain. We got him for 12 months towards the latter end of his career. So we've never been out there and signed world-class players when they're at their height, with the exception of somebody posted earlier, Ozzy and Ricky Villa.
I mean, that's even going back.
Well, that's going back to before you were probably born. So.
Yeah. But you know, we don't, as I said, when I do a lot of shows, Chris, and I talk about how disappointed I am with certain signings, people, you know, the people in the world that haven't got the ability to think for themselves, the first thing they write in is, oh, Savva thinks we should be buying world class. No, Savva doesn't think we should be buying world class. But Savva does think we should be looking for better than what we buy.
Showing some ambition and looking to progress.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy, I would say Berbatov was one of the best players I've seen in a Spurs shirt. His touch and control for me, was one of the best 2 or 3 players in the Premier League for his touch. I thought he was absolutely ridiculous. I thought he was absolutely superb as a footballer. Super Tottenham TV said Lineker, Klinsmann, Ginola, Van der Vaart and Brian Hill. Yeah, Hill Messi. Chris, if we then move it forward from, I believe that was the last signing of the summer, we then got to the January transfer window, and it was, we've talked about Dragushin. We brought in Timo Werner. Now, Timo Werner came in on a loan, and people were trying their best to say, oh, but it's only a loan. He'll fill a hole because Son's gone. But as long as we don't sign him, it's fine. We've now signed him again. Timo Werner?
So, Chelsea, do they give away good players? Do Red Bull Leipzig give away good players? So ultimately, we had a bloke who couldn't hit a barn door at Chelsea. We were aware of that as we saw him in the Premiership with our own eyes. Went to Red Bull Leipzig, couldn't even get in the starting 11 there.
Yeah.
Came over to us, was a low-risk deal at the time, but he didn't set the world alight, didn't do hardly anything. And we were all saying, good job we didn't sign him permanently. We're happy to return him at the end of the season. Yet, for reasons known to others other than ourselves, we then turn that into another season-long loan. And again, he's not of the quality. You take away his pace, he's distinctly average, or if not below average. He's not got
He was good.
Or the ability to finish. Jamie, you're on another planet, fella. He's
This is what I love. The trolls of the internet are sensational. I've learned to enjoy the trolls of the internet.
Again, Jamie, is Werner going to play for Chelsea? No. Man City? No. Man United? No. Liverpool? No. Newcastle? No. Aston Villa? No. Brighton? No. He is a very, very poor player. Yeah, we entertain him.
Yeah. I mean, do you know what? I don't rate the bloke at all. I think this is a guy who is all pace, no substance. I think there's no guile to his game at all. His control is rubbish. His shooting is absolutely awful. And what concerns me, Chris, is the very same fans that said it's only a 6 month, and now the same fans saying it's only a year's loan. Now look at that, Chris. Now look at that. 18 months, two loan fees, right?
£160,000 a week salary.
160 grand a week. That's a bloody expensive 18-month loan for a very average footballer, isn't it?
100%, yeah.
That's why I can't get excited with Spurs windows when we're re-signing Timo Werner. No matter how many people tell you he's good.
And we hear all this rhetoric about Lang being the new head of recruitment, that we're moving to data analytics, that we're going to try different things, and that Ange won't sign off anybody that he doesn't want. How the hell have we ended up with this bloke?
Can I tell you what annoys me more than anything, right? So as I said, like the other night, I think you might have watched it as well. I watched The Last Word on Spurs, and the big up to all those guys. I've got no problem with them, by the way. I'm just saying they were having a conversation, and I put in a super chat about Timo Werner. And they all turn around unanimously and were like, oh, no, but I think it's a good signing. He's better than Brian Hill. And that right there, from those four that were on screen, sat there and made me think, that's where Spurs fans are with their ambition. He's better than Brian Hill. Should not be the benchmark, Chris, as to whether we sign a player. Now, the second part of this that I want to pick your brains on, it's not just the fact that we signed Timo Werner and I don't rate him. It's the fact that you can only have X amount of forwards in your squad. He has taken the place of potentially a proper signing to go in there.
100%, yeah.
It's baffling.
In my mind, I'd rather we took a chance on somebody like Santiago from the youth team, from the academy, as opposed to a journeyman footballer, hasn't made his national side, has been binned by his last two clubs, yet he comes to Tottenham and he's got an easy ride of things. Yeah,
absolutely. My mate Jamie's back talking about Eberichi Eze. Bear with me 1 second, callers, because whilst I'm here, I've got my trusted app with every footballer in the world. Let's have a look at his lack of, what do you say? No end product. In 27 games last year in the league, he had 15 goal contributions playing for Crystal Palace. 15 in 27. 15 in 27. The year before, he got 17. Sorry, where is the no end? I can't do it. I can't do it, Chris. Can't do it. Chris, I want to move to the last two signings. He's Gray and Bergvall. Now they're getting a lot of love. They're getting a lot of hype. I'm already seeing content creators make these videos about how Ange sees them playing together and what he hopes for them in the future. Do you believe either of them will be starters? If so, where? If not, isn't it, again, two signings that are just going to not see first-team football? What do you make of it?
Okay, so Bergvall, until we were linked with him, I'd never heard of him. And it was only the fact that he chose between us and Barcelona that really got my attention peaked. The Swedish league, how many of the followers on this channel or in this chat room now can honestly say they watch that league week in, week out? We have got potential again, but not from the strongest of leagues.
Yeah.
again, we all hope that anybody that wears our club shirt will be successful, and anybody that wears the badge is going to give 110% for the club. But the question is, we really don't know. Who was the last world-class Swedishman to come out of that country? World class, and I'm probably guessing you're going to say Ibrahim. Yeah.
I mean,
unless we roll back the years and talk about Thomas Brolin.
Oh, Brolin, darling, Broly. Yeah, God, yeah. I mean, Isak, I wouldn't say is world class, but I would say Isak's a good player.
Good player, but not world class. But you look at all the stuff that's going around on the internet, and he does look a good player. He scored some good goals, but what is the quality that he's playing against measured at? So I think, again, it's too soon, too much. We've got a lot of younger generation supporters and viewers who are quick to take to editing suites and trying to do stuff to suggest this guy's world class and the next big thing. Look, we were swayed by YouTube when we signed Ndombele. We watched him a couple of times for who was it? The French club.
Who's that? Sorry.
Ndombele. Who was he with when that champion? No, it wasn't. No, who did we sign him from? Leon. So we watched him for a couple of games of Leon. We all went on YouTube and we thought this bloke is absolutely amazing. YouTube's not the case to prove a player's good or bad. So Bergvall, again, I hope he is good. I hope he lives up to expectation, but we shouldn't be pinning our hopes on a 18, 19-year-old kid from Sweden.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tony hits the nail on the head. He's been constantly posting common sense this evening. Well done, Tony. But
and Tony's got a tan that's even better than mine. And
got a better hairline than yours and less grey in there.
Yeah, better hairline as well. Listen, I love Tony, and Tony is if I'm not wrong, lives in Sweden, and has told me a number of times that Bergvall's okay, but he's currently playing in a really poor league. So when you see these people putting these videos together of him dribbling past 2 or 3 and scoring a goal, I mean, we've got videos of Brian Hill doing that. When he was a kid, you've got. I just think it's too soon. And again, so far, the 3 signings we've made, not one of those 3 should see the first team, in my opinion. Bergvall, Gray, and Werner. Not one of them should make a best 11, in my opinion.
A quick comment, Lisa Davis. Lisa, I hope Alfie makes it into the first team. Everything suggests he's got a good future ahead of him. So I'm really pleased for you, and I hope he fulfills that potential.
Yeah, big up, Lisa. Look, again, last year I was so disappointed. Not in Alfie Dorrington. Alfie Dorrington was on the bench. We were 4-0 up at home to Newcastle. 4-0 up, 15 minutes to go. Romero got a yellow card, was fouling all over the place. And you're thinking, 4-0, give Dorrington 15 minutes. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to lose the game from here. Give him no game time. Really frustrating. And feel sorry for him. He's currently injured, isn't he? I think he's going to miss all of pre-season, if I'm not wrong. So look, let's hope he comes back. Henrik Larsson, what a player Henrik Larsson was. Freddie Lundberg, top player. Shame he played for them lot down the road. But yeah, my point to all of that, Chris, was it's not that I don't like young players, but so far we've done nothing in this window that improves Tottenham Hotspur. Nothing
to excite us or to get the buzz back and for us all to be going, Jesus Christ, that is an amazing signing.
Yeah.
And again, with Archie Gray, everything suggests, and those within the game say he's going to be a great talent. We heard that of Jack Clark. We heard that years ago of Matthew Etherington. We heard that of, so whether you've got the ability to progress and achieve that talent is another thing. When Ravel Morrison at Man United was ramped as the next big thing, yet never lived up to that potential, never fulfilled that potential.
But the thing is, Chris, forget Tottenham. And by the way, I know you've got 4 minutes and then you need to jump. I'll continue to do a few questions beyond that.
I'll give you until 50:30.
You're too kind. Right, you're too kind. What was I going to say? Yeah. Forget Tottenham. How many times do we see young players get bought and they are hyped to their hill, and then two years later the quiz question is, where is so and so playing?
I'll give you a prime example. We signed a guy called Ange Postecoglou. He was a beautiful Portuguese lad with long flowing hair. We were led to believe that he was going to be the dog's bollocks. He was absolutely terrible. Yeah. So we've signed time and time again. Can you remember Reto Ziegler, the Swiss left back? We were told he was going to be something. So we've signed all of these players. Nobody's ever fulfilled their potential.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I tell you the one thing it does do as well is you look at the young players that we've signed in the last few years. It truly goes to show that anyone from our youth team, they're not getting a look in, are they? If we're brutally honest, people talk to me all year about Alfie Devine's special. He's the special one. He's going to come back. Doesn't Alfie Devine play in midfield? And we've just gone and bought Archie Gray and Bergvall that can play there, that are his age or similar age. And I just feel like it feels like a bit of a let's throw enough shit and let's see how much sticks.
Yeah.
And it will. And what will happen, Chris? You know what will happen in 3 years' time. If we look at Vuskovic, Gray, Bergvall, Hill, one of them in 3 years will turn out brilliant and be sold for about 70 million quid, and everyone will go, "There you go. You were complaining 3 years ago."
if you fire enough bullets, eventually one will hit the target.
Exactly. But again, this sort of thing, Ash, I love you, dude, but this sort of thing, I don't care. We are the ones that need to catch up. Yeah. Arsenal, City and Liverpool are miles clear of us when they only need to make 1 or 2 signings each. And I bet they do, Chris. I bet Man City.
You look at the quality. You look at the quality of the signings that Man City bring in from a youth perspective.
Sure.
Oscar Bob from Norway came into the City side last season, scored a few goals, and you thought, given an opportunity, he could get into that team. He could get into Premiership teams on a regular basis and hold his own. How many of our players have got in and thought actually they could be a game changer or could hold their own for a competitor?
Yeah, but I mean, my point in all this is those clubs are at a stage now where they don't need to buy 6 or 7 players.
No,
right? They can pick and choose now. Like, look at Arsenal. Arsenal are about to buy Calafiori. I can't see how they won't get that over the line. Yeah, they're building. Yeah, they're strengthening still. You look, Man City. Let's be brutally honest. Man City will do 1 in, 1 out. Pep doesn't need to go and buy. He will buy if he loses, if Silva does go this year, right? Or if the goalkeeper goes, he will then replace them. But no offense, Ash, you know I love you, dude, but whenever I hear this, I don't give a monkeys. I'm a Tottenham fan, right? I want to know what Tottenham are doing to improve their first 11. We're the ones playing catch-up. Not the other way around. And now look at another club who's playing catch-up, Man United. Man United are playing catch-up on the rest of the league.
But seriously catching up on the league.
And they just signed Xerxes today. De Ligt will be in the next few days. Yeah, they're in talks with Agate. They're in talks with, who's the other one they're in talks with? Branthwaite, right? We're not even in talks with anyone, Ash. We haven't put any bids on the table for anyone. Like, it's madness. So I don't care what other clubs do. I'm a Tottenham Hotspur fan.
I've got to stop you there, Savva. I think you're being highly disrespectful in not recognising Boris Lum.
Oh, God, yeah.
So today we're linked with, we've been linked for some time with a Hertha Berlin central midfielder. But guess what? He's like 16, 17 years of age. And the release clause is like 5 million. It says it all, doesn't it? What do you get for 5 million in the modern day?
Yeah. Yeah, listen, Eugene, I get it. But when we say top young talent, we've got no way of knowing they're top young talent because they're coming from, let's be fair, Archie Gray's coming from the Championship. Bergvall's coming from Sweden, right? It's not proven. So, yes, signing top young talent, but top young talent for me was, I remember watching when Gareth Bale was a kid at Southampton. I remember watching him and going, yeah, Like, you know what I mean? You were like, you've got it. Whatever it is, you've got it. Pace, power, drive, left foot, strength. I've seen clips of Bergvall in the Swedish league. I've seen clips of Archie Gray. It doesn't stand out to me. I don't know how we know this, but hey, that's just me. That's just me.
Do you remember all the furore and excitement about Marcus Edwards?
Yeah, another one.
Watched him make his debut for Tottenham against Gillingham. He was bloody useless.
Mm-hmm.
And all these years later, we're being linked with him again purely on the basis that he's homegrown and we get 35% of the sell-on for any deal. But then somebody else pinged it in there. Then we've got fans telling us that we've got a future Ballon d'Or winner in Mikey Moore alongside the young Spanish kid who scored the other night. So we talk about that production line of young talent, but actually, who was the last young talent the club produced?
Mate, I completely agree. And even when we look at this guy, Mikey Moore hasn't signed a contract, right? And there's lots of noise.
I understand that it's a done deal. I understand. Yeah.
So where does Mikey Moore play when you're buying Bergvall? You're buying all these kids?
But the done deal is that he's going to be in first team football next season.
For Spurs?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see. The second wheel has said, now, what if we regress this season? What happens? Well, we will regress if we don't strengthen. It's natural. We will regress if we don't strengthen. If we regress, it's because the club have acted in the way they normally do. And this comment, by the way, just quickly, big up the second wheel. I think it would wake Levy up. How many times, Chris, over the last 24 years have you heard, this will make Levy do something, this will make Levy react?
More times than I've got fingers to count with.
Yeah. Oh, this will wake him up. This will make... I make Jamie... So, listen, Calafiori, from what I've heard, is going to be used by Arteta in the same way that Pep Guardiola uses Ake and Vardiel. He's going to use him on the left.
Yeah, so, that's the same as what I've heard.
And why wouldn't Calafiori start for Spurs, Jamie? Why not? We just conceded 61 goals. You can't tell me that our defenders are untouchable.
The first person out the door will be Zinchenko.
I don't disagree. Yeah, don't disagree. They do have a history of winning trophies, but they listen. I'm not sitting here saying that Man United are doing the best business I've ever seen, that they're going to win everything. But what I love about it is the new owner's come in, all right, part owner, but he's running football operations, has come in and straight away is looking to try and better them. Straight away, he's trying to better them, and we just don't do it. Rumours tonight, Moussa Diaby could be heading to Saudi for 60 million. I'm sure Villa will be very happy with that because they'll go and spend it. So I think they'll be very happy with that as well, wouldn't you say?
100%, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of comments I wanted to go to. First of all, big up to Pete. This is Pete from our chat, who has said, who needs signings when we get free ice cream? So we've had 2 bits of news come out in the last...
Wow, he's invested a whole $1.99. Well done, Pete. Go.
Big up, Pete. Really appreciate it. Just think of the ice cream you could buy for $1.99. This is off the back of the news. I think it was yesterday that I didn't read it completely because as soon as I see Spurs announce something and it's not a signing, I switch off. But something to do with free ice cream for the day or something, or I don't know, some nonsense. Followed by today's news, Chris, that Spurs have got planning permission for yet another hotel.
Whoa.
Gets the juices flowing, doesn't it?
Well, next time I go and watch a Lady Gaga concert, at least I know I've got a 5-star hotel to stay at where they'll pump me full of money.
It cracks me up, man. This club will never change. George, big up, has been a channel member for 10 months. He said, welcome to Chris. Thank you for your time. What about me? What about my time? Only joking. Big up. Yeah, Chris is a wonderful addition. And Chris, everyone says I'm not fun on a night out. Well, we're going for drinks 2 Fridays time, so you'll find out.
Yeah. You'll be able to let everyone know. Doesn't know what's hitting yet.
Yeah, you drink like a fish. Big up to you, George. Always appreciate you for being there. A comment that I started a while back, I thought I'd come back to. I thought was quite interesting. Hiko Ployer has said Maddison gets into Villa's, United's, Chelsea's, Liverpool's, and maybe his Arsenal squad. don't know what you're talking about. Only because he takes time to recover from an injury doesn't mean he's a bad player. No one said he was a bad player. And Chris actually said, does he start? Does he start for those clubs? No one said he wouldn't get into some of those squads. But for me, he doesn't start for Villa. He doesn't start for Man U in front of Bruno or Kobe Mainu. He doesn't start for Chelsea for me above the likes of Cole Palmer. He doesn't start above any of Liverpool's centre mids. And there's no way he starts for Arsenal. Am I wrong, Chris? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head.
But this is what we do. We constantly try and shoehorn these players to be better than they are to justify why we don't buy better players.
Look, on a weekly basis, we go onto social media and we see these obscene tweets around what's to prevent this winning the league. And some 16 or 17-year-olds put forward a team and suggest that we go win the league. And I think a lot of people need to grow up. A lot of people need to realise we're a million miles off that. And we've got considerable work to do before we can challenge for titles.
Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree with you. I mean, it's interesting. Look, all I want, when we're saying Archie has all of that, though, Savva, all of what? Are we talking about what I said with Bale? Look, I've seen Archie Gray play this year. He looks okay. He looked good. I'm not knocking the lad. But I just think that amount of the budget going on him, for me, is fine. And I think you're kind of agreeing with Chris. It's fine doing that, but then the players that come in after that need to be, they need to be that quality.
He's got to be supplementary to the first team players that you go bring in. So he's there to learn from them. He's there for the future, and he's there to get game time when it allows. But if you're investing in him at 40 million at 18 years of age, only having played championship football, to come in immediately into the side in the Premiership, we go foul.
Yeah, completely agree. Guys, we're going to go for 7 more minutes. We are, funny enough, we are only 6 subscribers away from 12,600. So if 6 of you, that's all it is, 6 of you would be so kind. I'm not asking for your money. Just smash the subscribe button. You know you're going to be here in the next chat anyway, so please do. Please smash the likes. We should be on 200. We're only on 144. So please make that happen in the next 5-6 minutes. Tell me who Calafiori starts over at Spurs. Well, listen, for me, I think that there's a number of games.
Porro.
Yeah. I think defensively, I'm going to say it. People are not going to like this, Chris. I think Udogie's a tremendous footballer. I think defensively, he's poor.
Yeah, he's young potential. He's got brain farts in him that happen too often, and he's going to make mistakes. Yeah. But if you take him out of the mix, who are we relying on? Ben Davis for the 11th successive season, or we go shoehorn Dragusin into left back, or we go put Royal into left back. So it's that they're the positions we need to invest in. We need people that can challenge the heir apparent for that role. Yeah. So we need to pressure them to make sure that they consistently perform.
Yeah, absolutely. Lee Smith, big up Lee. I said, ain't Travis Scott playing at the stadium tonight? Mate, I have no idea who's playing at the stadium. Someone is. All I know is it's not a quality footballer. But yeah, big up Lee. I hope you are well, my friend. More money is a good thing if it goes into the club. I mean, this is something we've heard for many years as well, Chris. Big up Ange said, so negative. Big up Ange. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to pat myself on the back. Last season, I said Spurs would finish 5th. I was called negative. Where did Spurs finish last season? 5th. You know why, big up Ange? It's nothing to do with me being positive or negative. It's me using my common sense, looking at the squad and going, there's not enough there. Whilst people like you are going, we're going to win the league. We're in a title challenge. And your picture is not lost on me where it says Savva loves me. I've seen it.
I think it's far too easy for people to continue with the negative rhetoric as opposed to the realistic rhetoric. Yeah. And if we say what we honestly think based on evidence over the years and our understanding of the game, it doesn't land well with people. So they're very quick to call us out and to call us negative where we're using our age and experience to tell it as it is.
No, absolutely. Jamie, my mate, is back and said, okay, was Championship Player of the Season. He was Young Player of the Season. And I don't know if you know, but there's a bloke in the Spurs squad right now. Can't think of his name. Went on loan to Norwich and was Player of the Season in the Championship. Oh, what's his name?
Oh, not Oliver Skip by any chance?
Oh, Oliver Skip, that's his name. And so for me, Jamie, you've got to do it in the Premier League, right? You listen. Hey, it is what it is. Alf, I love that name. Alf Vivek, that's a great name. Said Archie has everything Spurs need according to people who haven't watched Archie. You all must be confusing this guy with Lamine Yamal. Wow. Now, Yamal, that is a generation. Big up. Listen, I'm just going to go for a few more comments to take us through to the 10:30. Will you be doing a combined 11 this year? I'll be looking forward to it. Ange'S, the combined 11s drive me crazy because Spurs fans will just find a way, no matter who we're playing, to have more Spurs players in than City, Liverpool and Arsenal. And he can defend and Udogie can't. Just saying. Pelu, big up Pelu. So people will like it because football fans fancy Calafiori all of a sudden. Look, he's a good player. I think I think at the end of the day, he's comfortable on the ball. He can bring it out well. I think Arsenal have got a good signing there. It wasn't lost on me. I did see the laugh out loud. Savva loves me. Big up Alan from Time Added On. Hope you're well, my friend. Said some Spurs fans say we're on the same level as the other big six. So I say, okay, then we need to compete on the pitch and signings then. But then get told we can't compete financially. Rinse and repeat. Chris, just before we go, we've got 2 minutes. This is the key thing for me. When people tell me we're in a title challenge, when people tell me we are a big club, when people tell me we built the stadium to get the revenue to compete, are the same fans that when you mention good footballers, they say, oh, we can't get them. Just like, I don't get it, mate. I don't get it. Hey, that's just me. That's just me. Where are we? There is no such thing as an... Listen, it's fine. I'll get called negative all season. I'll be right again. You know why I'm right again? Because I don't go crazy that we're going to get relegated and I don't go crazy that we're going to win a league title either. I kind of go normal. But hey, it is what it is. I think that's about it from tonight. This. Big up. Chris, thank you so much. Really, really enjoyed it.
Been a pleasure. Really enjoyed it.
I can't get dragged back in. I can't.
I'll tell you what, Jamie's been smoking crack cocaine tonight because his mindset and his opinion and his logic have been off the radar.
He cracks me up. What makes me laugh is how can a defence that conceded 61 goals and we're going, he was the best centre-half last year in the league. Yeah. He was the best left-back. He was the best right-back. Well, they clearly weren't, were they?
Children in a man's world.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, listen, loved it. Hopefully we can do this again next week.
Love to.
Smash the likes, people. Listen, subscribe, smash the likes for Chris. It's his second time on the show. Absolutely brilliant. Love the stream. Everybody, keep it football, keep it polite. I think most people have done tonight. So thank you very much for that. Please smash the like button on your way out. We're only on 155. We should be on 200. And please, please, please do subscribe. Much love. Take care. And as always, come on, you Spurs.